Hello and welcome to the EDiscovery channel. This is Tom O'Connor reporting from soggy New Orleans. And with me, of course, is Craig Ball from, somewhat less soggy Austin?
We were soggy before you, but we have improved and it's lovely here now.
Yes, your sog has apparently worked its way over to my neck of the woods. And hopefully it will be beautiful tomorrow. They actually just announced that we have a big charity event going on in City Park this weekend called Hogs for the Cause. It's a barbecue for pediatric cancer. A gentleman started it a number of years ago just raising some money, and then a couple of other friends decided to chime in with their barbecue, and now he's got 2 days of 50 barbecuers and bands and the classic New Orleans experience. But it's been raining so heavily and lightning that they canceled it for tonight, and they're going to double down tomorrow. So hopefully we will get that sunny weather tomorrow.
I will be pushing it towards you. I promise you will get it. But clarify something for me.
Yes.
Is it Hogs for the Cause because they're barbecuing pork, or because this is sponsored by Harley Davidson, right?
Yeah. Well, it seemed like a natural for a sponsorship, but they haven't hooked that up yet. The original gentleman was barbecuing pork. Now, of course, it's open to, they even have, I believe, a vegan booth at the show to accommodate people who don't like to actually eat meat, but apparently like to watch it being prepared on a grill. And drink copious amounts of beer at the same time.
I've always wondered why vegans have their protein meat substitutes made to look like meat items.
Yeah, tofurkey is a favorite of mine. But that raises an interesting question. Can vegans drink beer?
Well, why not? It's not made from any animal byproducts, is it? Maybe how you make it, but no, I don't usually throw any cat meat in it.
I never knew what the rules were of vegans, but that's a subject for a discussion of another day. We'll look up, just as somebody asked me today, perhaps you know the answer to this. Here's one that's at least related to our tentative subject area, which it gets more and more tentative the longer we speak.
More tenuous, yes.
Yes. Somebody asked me today, the subject was the federal rules and their new changes. How is the Rules Committee formed? Under whose leadership or sponsorship or authority are they comprised, I should say? Some would say they've been compromised.
Let's not go there this one. My understanding is it emanates from the Supreme Court of the United States.
Oh. Well, excuse me. So literally there's some sort of working committee under the authority of the Supreme Court, which I guess would explain why the changes ultimately go to the court to be approved or disapproved or looked at with benign neglect.
Yes, and I don't know if the Federal Judicial Center plays some roles in the composition of the committees or management, but my understanding is all of this hands down from the Chief Justice of the United States.
Oh, interesting. Which would also explain, I suppose, the Chief Justice's interest in remarking on the rule changes during his State of the Court comments at the end of last year.
Well, every once in a while you would like some recognition that the justices actually read the rules of their courts. So that was a good opportune time to do it.
Yes. Well, so speaking of technology, how's this for a segue? This is actually our constant readers or viewers. I just like to use that phrase because Stephen King uses it all the time. Are unaware, of course, of the fact that we attempted to do this recording earlier in the weekend, and I'm ashamed to admit that technology failed us. Gasp. Oh, yeah. However, as you and I discussed in the car coming down to the airport yesterday from Gainesville to Orlando, which is another story that we'll not delve into quite yet, you were discoursing on smart cars. And so I think that statement that technology failed will certainly be used by the smart car anti-crowd to just be one more example of why we shouldn't give control of our cars to.
And we had a very good discussion of it, and maybe we can debate it after we get past some semblance of EDiscovery discussion.
Well, since you mentioned EDiscovery, let's several people who saw our last posted recording, which was of course from Lafayette Park in New Orleans, in the heart of New Orleans, mentioned somewhat caustically that it seemed to take us a lot to meander around to the actual subject. And I said, hey, go watch The Good Wife. You don't have to turn this on.
It's not just the destination, it's the journey, folks.
That's right. You got to listen to the two of us ramble on. You get what you get. I'm sorry, folks. So, but, okay, warning.
Think of it as Downton Abbey.
That's right. Exactly. So we will now commence, for those who are interested, the EDiscovery portion of the discussion. You had actually, I believe, not, it's been so long and now I don't even remember. You had a blog post, right, about Alexa?
I did.
Your new constant companion.
I did.
And this week, when we were in Gainesville at the University of Florida Law School / EDRM 4th Annual EDiscovery Conference, you know, I said that in virtually every recording I did at the show. I called it a concert. You can tell I've been living in New Orleans for a while. Where's the band? What do you mean it's going to be people talking? That's not what I came for. I came for the concert. You actually gave a very compelling discussion, I thought.
Thank you.
Yeah, your keynote address was talking about competency, and you actually brought Alexa on the road with you to show how it worked. And
she heard you.
Yeah. And so I thought we'd come back to the fact in your column. Well, I won't put words in your mouth. Maybe you'd like to recap your blog post for those few people who apparently have been on Mars and didn't read it.
Well, you can always put words in my mouth, Tom, but you have to remember what's been put in my mouth, how it usually comes out. So we don't need to go there. Yes, well, Alexa, or the Amazon Echo, as the hardware is called, is a line of hardware products that act as essentially entry points to an online cloud-based infrastructure that Amazon offers, such that you can interact with these devices and give them voice commands in natural language, and they will do what can be done in that way. And that what can be done is a lot of things. Alexa can turn on the lights in my house. Alexa can tell me the weather and the news, play the music I want to hear. Alexa can brief me. Alexa can tell me the commute. She can get me an Uber. She can get me a pizza. She controls the thermostat, and just pretty much what you would be able to do with a remote control or using Siri with your hands, Alexa does exceedingly well.
Or I should point out things you could do, like with
I can't find the answer to the question I heard.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
We're talking about her. Wouldn't it be easy? I just push a button here and it shuts the woman up. Okay.
Oh, you're going to get in trouble for that one. Oh, we'll get cards and notes about that one.
No, we wouldn't want that in real life. Actually, that would be a terrible thing.
That's right. So that all sounds wonderful. Actually, not so wonderful for the Luddites in the crowd. But
well, Tom, let me tell you, it is. I mean, you get up, you want to walk to the kitchen, and it's dark, and you say, Alexa, turn on the lights. That's kind of nice. It's not something you want to invest a fortune in, but it's nice. Or when you're in the couch and you want to have a question. I'll give you an example. Is it too soon to do an example?
Well, no, but I'll give you a counter before you give the example.
Okay.
I get up in the morning and want to walk in the kitchen. I reach over and flip the lights on.
In the morning, it's not really a big deal, but in the dark, walking through, or to be in bed and say, oh, did I lock the door? Did I turn on all the lights? Do I want to set the thermostat to a different temperature? I can get my lazy ass out of bed and walk across the house, but it's nice to be able to say, something. I mean, and plus, he knows stuff. Like, watch this one. Alexa, who is Craig Ball? Alexa.
And there we go.
Who is Craig Ball?
Craig Hall, born November 6th, 1977.
Alexa, who is Craig Ball?
Craig D. Ball is a computer forensic analyst and former trial lawyer who advises judges and lawyers on the use of electronic evidence.
I quibble with the former, but that's pretty good. And the weird thing is, Tom, I didn't put that there. I had nothing to do with that ever. It was so surprised me. That's not something that anyone should want to buy Alexa for. I will agree that that is not a sufficient purpose, but
But
I
if you
find
lose
it's
track of who you are or what your goal is in life, I suppose that comes in handy. Yeah.
every once in a while you need a reminder. Who am I? Why
Who
am
am
I
I?
here?
Good.
But
Actually, would you ask Alexa that question?
what is the meaning of life or something?
No. Who am I?
Alexa, who am I?
In Craig's profile.
Well, there you are.
So I'm going to shut her up for just a minute. I mean, you can ask her questions. Let's try it out. Alexa, what is the meaning of life?
42.
Wow. Wow. How do you argue with that?
Or Alexa, tell me a joke.
What does a subatomic duck say? Quark.
Quark. You didn't say tell me a good joke.
No, but you can say tell me a dirty joke.
No, that's all right. We won't go there.
No, I think you'll like it.
Not on the public airwaves.
You say it, Tom. She can hear you.
Alexa, can you hear me?
A little louder.
Alexa, can you hear me?
Just say Alexa.
Alexa.
All right, now to ask her to say Alexa, tell me a dirty joke.
Alexa, tell me a dirty joke.
She's not hearing you for some reason. Try again, louder.
I have that effect on women constantly, as you may notice. Alexa, tell me a dirty joke.
What is brown and sounds like a bell? Dung.
Oh, God.
I didn't say it would be, you'd say a good dirty joke. Anyway, it's a very entertaining thing. Now, I've shown you the Echo, this tube, which is about, I don't know, 9 inches high, 10 inches high. This is a cool thing. It's got a great speaker system in it, omnidirectional microphones, and we will get, by the way, to why this is an EDiscovery thing.
Yeah.
I returned from Florida, and waiting for me was this hockey puck size version called Echo Dot. And this thing, while it only has a more anemic speaker than the really room size one here, it's cool because you can put this by your bed or wherever you want it. It's very unobtrusive. You can connect it by a cable to your stereo system, or you can have it broadcast via wireless Bluetooth to a wireless speaker. So what you can do with this one is you can do things. I'm going to go ahead. Very simple things. Alexa, what time is it? Alexa, what time is it?
It's 4:45.
Alexa, what's the weather in New Orleans?
In New Orleans, Louisiana, there's a flash flood watch in effect until 7 p.m. Friday,
Alexa,
April 1st.
stop. Alexa, how does my commute look? Alexa, how does my commute look?
For Craig's commute, the fastest route takes about 33 minutes via Southwest Parkway and East Ben White Boulevard.
Okay. So
and it'll wake you up. It'll set a timer. It'll do all kinds of things. So it's not. But what the thing about it is, I'm interacting with it by voice, and that means every time I say something in the way of a command, Alexa is recording what I say, and Alexa is keeping a record of that, including Amazon is keeping a record of the actual recording. So what I'm asking about and the actual things being said around me, that includes, where I am, obviously, when I did it, which Echo device got the message, and crucially, the background sounds of whatever was going on. So there's a lot of information, and if I share my screen with you for a moment, you can see the kind of thing that comes up with the Echo. So right now I'm looking through the history settings. And as I go through this history, Tom, I can I can go through. Let's see. Here's something for us. So I hope you can hear this.
Alexa, tell me a dirty joke.
Could you hear that?
Yes.
You heard you telling Alexa what to do. Well, that's what they have for, in my case, months and months and months and months of every command that has ever been given to Alexa.
Now, where is that being kept, Craig?
I'm pretty sure that it's going straight to the NSA, but no, it's being kept in an Amazon server.
It's not going. It's not being sent there. They just make their own copy dynamically.
I don't really. I mean, it's being stored somewhere in the cloud.
Okay, but not locally.
No, this is not being stored on my computer. It's not being stored on the Alexa device. When you activate Alexa by saying her name or the start word, that then begins broadcasting anything that is said afterwards to Amazon over the internet. It analyzes the sounds, turns it into a voice recognition command, and then responds appropriately. So when I say things like, Alexa, put toothpaste on my shopping list.
I've put toothpaste on your shopping list.
Gotcha.
Alexa, do a web conference with Tom O'Connor on my to-do list.
I do a web conference with Tom O'Connor on your to-do list.
And I can ask her to set an appointment. I can ask her what's on my calendar for today. And while it's true, Tom, that any of us can use a device like the iPhone or go to a computer, there is an amazing power to being able to use these things hands-free. I mean, when do you think you need toothpaste? It occurs you need toothpaste or shaving cream or whatever. You're in the bathroom, your hands are wet, your face is wet. That's not a time when you want to go looking for your iPhone. But I could just say, Alexa, put toothpaste on the shopping list or shaving cream or whatever, and she'll do it. And I can say, Alexa, buy toothpaste from Amazon.
Right.
And if I've set up my favorite brand and quantities, I will automatically order it. And it's something you begin to integrate into your day-to-day life. Because
I'm sorry to interrupt, but let me just say, I don't know if you can see, the lights have been flickering here a bit, and my UPS is clicking away like an Alexander Graham Bell original telegraph. So I just want to warn you, if I drop off for some reason, we've obviously had a big power surge. So let's just say, I mean, this is great, but now bring it home to electronic discovery, it seems.
Okay.
Obvious, but go ahead.
No, well, let's imagine that history contains information that will be useful in a case. Maybe it's a domestic relations case, and you're trying to prove that the person is not suited to have custody of a child. Maybe it's cheating. Maybe it's hiding finances. Maybe it's an alibi for a crime. I mean, you can imagine there are any number of things. Just doing a Wikipedia search for, Wikipedia search on, how do I poison somebody? We look at that and we go, who's stupid enough to do that? But don't we know that, what was the name of that, the defendant, the young woman who is accused of having murdered her daughter, and it was all over the news for a while in Florida, as such things tend to be.
I'm blanking.
I want to say a daughter's name was like Kaylee, a little girl, and
okay. So, but here's the question: how easy is that to retrieve? You said the material is being stored on the cloud. We know that if we try to get information from other cloud, carriers in the case of phone companies, but just other cloud behemoths. They're not overly enthusiastic about doing that. Is this going to be any different in terms of accessibility to that log file?
Well, when you go to, as a third party, when you go to Amazon and say, give me all of these things, Amazon is going to very likely say, SCA, Stored Communications Act, we don't have to give you anything. You have to get a court order local to us.
Now I'm going to do my ESPN Corso imitation. Wait just a minute, my friend. Not so fast. It's actually supposed to be done with a pencil, but I didn't have one within reach. How does the SCA, how does the Stored Communications Act apply to something that you're using to communicate with a machine?
Well, that's what the Stored Communications Act is for. It's designed to protect communications through a machine. Now, whether the SCA...
No, you're communicating with the machine, not through a machine. You're talking to Alexa.
You make a good point. It hasn't been tested as to whether that would be the case.
This is also new.
as a general proposition, internet service providers have been reluctant to respond to third-party subpoenas in civil cases.
Right.
In this instance, Tom, the issue is not so much how would a third party get it, but let's assume I have an obligation as a user to preserve the information. How am I going to preserve this data? I mean, the argument would be, well, just leave it there and don't erase it. It's easy to erase it in whole or in single parts. But if you need to preserve it, there's no mechanism that I can see in place to download it, move it into an Excel or delimited format that would be possible to be reviewed and produced. You have to laboriously go through them one by one.
Wow.
And when you go back, you know, when you look at like the one I looked at of your recording, and you go back to look at them, it resets all the way to the beginning. So if you have as I do, tens of thousands of interactions, you have to scroll back through every time. It's a nightmare. It's like trying to see a Facebook page posting from a year ago. It's very laborious.
Right. Okay. Well, sounds like a potential growth industry for attorneys, which is good news.
Well,
but it's all very new technology, so we're assuming that as issues arise, some of this will hopefully get easier to handle.
My point in writing the blog post was not just to do a free ad, essentially, for the wonders of the new electronic woman in your life, but to draw attention to the challenge we face in electronic discovery in terms of preservation, review, and production, as so much of our information is stored in cloud-based sources, particularly when you start talking about social networking. And in a sense, Alexa is a kind of a social networking tool. I'm networking with the Amazon infrastructure, the Amazon ecosystem. But while Facebook has a rather poor takeout mechanism, and Google a very high-quality takeout mechanism, and Twitter an adequate takeout mechanism, as we move into other applications, both online and on devices like the iPhone, we find increasingly that there is essentially no takeout mechanism whatsoever. And by takeout, I mean the ability to download it and view and use it in a way that fairly replicates the complement of information that is in the application. One more example. When you go to the App Store for your iPhone, you have something like 1.5 million apps or more you can draw on. And yet the EDiscovery community has the ability to pull information out and analyze, parse, if you will, probably less than 3 dozen of those 1.5 million apps. And a lot of those apps store a lot of information that is very likely to be relevant to cases. I mean, you can play Words with Friends, and if you click on the upper right corner, there's a messaging application in Words with Friends. We may see a time not far off when the terrorist cell or the cheating spouse may be communicating through Words with Friends.
I've actually read something in the New York Times a month or so ago about some terrorist cells who were discovered to be using the messaging system inside an online gaming system. So they were using their gaming device to actually send messages to each other. So yeah, your point's well taken. We're expanding so rapidly how we communicate through various mediums. All of this seems to be very frustrating for, again, taking it back to EDiscovery, the way you describe it, to be very frustrating in terms of implementing anybody's litigation hold obligation. How do I actually go, if I'm obliged to do so, and retrieve that information from the Amazon cloud? So, yeah, that's food for thought.
It's a challenge for vendors to develop these capabilities. And I want to be clear. I'm not of a mind that every byte of data and every obscure medium has to be captured in order to comply with a reasonable litigation hold scheme.
Sure.
But once you find out that a significant component or a material component of information that is relevant and non-privileged is being communications are being pursued through some type of a mechanism on a regular basis, particularly if it's a business communication or what have you, the option of simply putting your head in the sand and pretending it doesn't exist is the poorest choice of all.
Right.
You know,
Right.
Alexa is becoming an infrastructure. She's becoming central to my interfacing with many different components of my personal and professional life. As this infrastructure grows and as it becomes utilized as a means of communication on a regular basis, we as the user community have got to insist that there be a sort of democratization of data. And now, let's put this outside the context of just EDiscovery for a moment. Let's consider privacy. Let's consider portability of data.
Right.
We have rights with respect to the data streams we create, and one of those rights should be portability. Just as HIPAA said you could take your medical, your medical life with you and make it portable between carriers, we have to have our data life, our virtual selves, to a certain extent, portable between carriers so that we are not wedded exclusively to one monopolistic exploiter of our virtual life. Now, that sounds a little peculiar at this stage, but if it doesn't ring true with you immediately, I think you'll find that it will be ringing very true with you in a few years, and it already rings very true with a much younger generation of people who have virtually no physical interaction, whose primary interaction with one another is electronic.
To that point, I forget what it was, but I saw a press release today somewhere about one legal vendor who was writing an interface to use their application with the onboard computer system in a Tesla. So yeah, you're right. The cohesiveness of trying to combine all of this information is enormous. I'm mindful of the words of our great friend Judge John Fasciola, who stated last year at the Georgetown EDiscovery Training Academy, I don't think anybody has a reasonable expectation of privacy anywhere anymore, except in their own home. And now Alexa seems to be doing away with that.
Well, I mean, I believe I have an effective privacy where Alexa is concerned. I mean, it's not that Amazon is putting this on the web and anybody can see my interactions. I know what I'm dealing with, but I think the average user is probably not fully aware. And when you are called upon to reconstruct these interactions, you deserve a mechanism to do it. And you mentioned the Tesla, which it's a very useful point, because today there are thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people lined up at Tesla dealerships all over the country, because this is your day to come in and put $1,000 down on the Tesla for the masses. The not yet existing low-cost electric car in the Tesla line. And I know several people who posted in social networking today that they spent their day, a couple in the EDiscovery world, they spent their day lining up to put their $1,000 down in a very, Apple Store-esque kind of line down the block thing.
Right.
So today's Tesla is sort of like, who's going to feel sorry for somebody who's buying a $70,000 or $100,000 car? Well, once it becomes a car for the masses, suddenly we have to care.
I'm not sure that a $35,000 car is a car for the masses either, but your point's well taken.
Unfortunately, the days of the $5,000 Corvair, Tom, seem to be out the window.
2 words: used cars.
I'm with you there.
Well,
if you want the latest technology, sometimes, I understand. Used new Tesla is just not going to be there for a while.
Right. And like all technology and all price points, as mass production takes over, the price points will drop. So, okay. Well,
but you make one more point, which is the complement of information stored by a modern car. We tend to think of cars as fairly passive, but modern car infotainment systems store an enormous amount of communications and behavioral data. Yep.
Well, great synopsis. I appreciate the points. I'm actually going to cut us both short here. Usually we would meander into several other topics and bore our audience to death. But the lights are continuing to flicker here, and I just saw some large object out of the corner of my eye go flying across my porch. So I feel that I should probably go investigate what it is.
Hopefully it's not your neighbor.
Yes, I thought exactly. But I didn't hear any vocal accompaniment, so I'm assuming it's a flag or a plant or some other inanimate object.
Hey, Tom?
Yes.
So I'm going to be, moving to my New Orleans place for a month or more coming up. So I hope we can do a few broadcasts from other great venues. And let's invite our listeners, if they have some things they'd like to hear us address, cases, topics, whatever, please give us your direction, and we'd like to try to address it.
Yes, no, I totally agree. So you will be here next weekend for the French Quarter Festival. So I imagine we will attempt to arrange a broadcast from there or a recording from there. Oh, a broadcast. Wow, we could really expand our world. We could get somebody to let us do live broadcasts. Oh, the thought is terrifying. And then it will be 3 weeks from today is the first day of Jazz Fest. This storm, by the way, has set back the construction efforts out there quite a bit. They all went scurrying for cover around noon, never to return. But we will, of course, be planning on doing at least one recording, if not a couple, from several different Jazz Fest venues. Depending on how much security they've got with us lugging in our laptop in our backpack.
Well, maybe we could do it from some lawn chairs. I understand there's a really popular crawfish boil across the street from Jazz Fest. You know anything about that?
I know everything about that, and I think that crawfish will have to be on the menu, if you'll pardon the pun. As our old well-known New Orleans musician Zachary Richard said, you boil them up till they're good and red, squeeze the head, squeeze the tail, and you suck the head. Crawfish. And
keep those cards and letters coming, folks.
That's right.
You can post a comment on the YouTube site, or you can email us. Do we want to give our email addresses here?
Sure, go right ahead.
All right, mine is easy. It's craig@ball.net, CRAIG@BALL.net.
Mine is tom.o'connor with an O, OCONNOR, at Advanced Discovery, all one word, but both D's are included, the D in Advanced and the D in Discovery, .com. Tom.o'connor at advanceddiscovery.com. We'll be happy to take your comments. And
your questions.
Yes, there will actually be several, as I understand it, several Advanced Discovery people are planning a vacation visit to the French Quarter Fest next weekend. So I'm hoping we can corral them and ask a few questions, although they may take the word vacation seriously, unlike people like us who just take a series of busman's holidays to various locales.
Let's try this. Alexa, Simon says, laissez les bons temps rouler. Alexa, Simon says, let the good times roll.
Let the good times roll.
There we go. Excellent job. Craig, thanks so much as always. I'll have it hopefully posted up within the next day, and we will see you next week right here in New Orleans.
I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to just having some good questions and suggested topics from our listeners so we can make this as valuable to them as we are capable.
Will do. All right. Thanks so much, and we'll sign off the eDiscovery channel for now.